In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. It's interesting that we believe and we have faith. We truly follow God. But there's one thing that we don't understand sometimes. We don't always fully understand what it means to receive a promise from God and what it means to have that promise fulfilled. You know, in this day and age where the world is focused on the rights of women and the fact that women should be equal, it's wonderful that God already understood that because He created us. Today's story revolves around two women. Two very holy women, two very faithful women. Two women who are still spoken about today, 2,000 years later. One, the Theotokos, the mother of God, and the other, the mother of Him preferred amongst all those born women. Saint Elizabeth, who gave birth to St. John the Baptist. And these two women had an incredible encounter. They had an encounter of faith, an encounter of witness, a prophetic encounter. God spoke to the world through them, directly. The first through Elizabeth, the first declaration of St. Mary being the mother of her Lord, of St. Mary being the Theotokos, the bearer of God in flesh, a prophecy, a testimony, a declaration, came at the hands of Elizabeth, who was barren, who was shunned by society, who was marginalized and alienated, who was told she had no place, and who actually had to hide herself at one stage. And yet, the declaration we read is a declaration from her. Why is this given to me, that the mother of my Lord shall visit me? And so we see God's promise. But then we see another woman, a younger woman, much younger woman. A woman, a girl, reared in the temple, betrothed to an older man, being faithful and committed, and now being called upon and sent forth as the Theotokos, the mother of God. And so we see, first of all, how God communicates. God doesn't always communicate through the strong and the powerful, the influential and the recognized. He doesn't always communicate through the sources we expect. Whether it is an elderly woman once barren, or a young girl now having to live with rumor, both being shunned by society for quite opposite reasons. One being shunned because she was without child, and one being shunned because she was with child. And this is the nature of our world. Whether you're young or old, whether you fit the mold or you don't, if you don't jump through a particular hoop at a particular time, you're not accepted, you're rejected. You don't fit that particular mold. And loving, God is the true revolutionary. He intentionally breaks molds. He intentionally challenges us. He intentionally does things that are well and truly out of the box to make us realize just how powerful he is. And so these two women, at these two ends of a spectrum, living very strange and different lives, and yet coming together in this one incident, and declaring the divine incarnation, the birth of God in flesh. Elizabeth prays a blessing on St. Mary. Blessed is she who believed. Now let's face it. How many of us, being placed in the position of St. Mary, would really have believed what was said to us? I mean, just look at Zacharias, the great priest, at the altar offering incense. You don't get more holy than that. And yet, he was skeptical. Didn't understand. And yet was not as convicted as St. Mary, who said, I don't understand, but let it be according to your word. Behold the maidservant of the Lord. Such witness and such strength. Blessed is she who believed. And then, she's called upon to witness. She's called upon to sacrifice. She is called upon to bear a great burden for the sake of God. And she does. And she presents this wonderful model. And she gives herself to the whole world. And then she declares that her soul magnifies the Lord. Now I wonder if we were in her position, a young girl afraid, now pregnant, miraculously, and it's not like she can go to her friends and say, by the way, an angel appeared to me and told me I was going to become pregnant, so don't believe anything anyone tells you. This is all wrong. This is all very divine. Now, it sounds crazy enough, but it wouldn't be believed. And yet she bore that. She bore that burden for us all. How many of us in that position could turn around and say, my soul magnifies the Lord? When we have a tribulation or a problem, our first thing is, God, why have you done this to me? Where are your promises? Why have you abandoned me? Why have you forsaken me? Why do you leave me? How many of us in that time, in that situation, in that setting, could honestly and faithfully say, my soul magnifies the Lord? And yet she did. And she declared the greatness of the fulfillment of the promise. The promise that he had spoken to Abraham and his seed, and the promise that he was keeping forever. This is the nature of our God. A God who keeps his promises, and who provides the most spectacular solutions in the most impossible situation at the most opportune time. Because our God is a God of miracles, and he is a God of fulfilled promises. He is a God who loves his people, and a God who visits them with his salvation and calls us all to his kingdom. So whether we fit the mold of St. Mary, the young, naive girl who suddenly finds herself in a position that is much bigger than she is, a burden, a responsibility much greater, or the older, shunned, marginalized, alienated, embarrassed woman who has to hide because the world says to her that you are of no use, you are barren, you are old, and she must bear this. Or anywhere in between, within that spectrum. We must focus on the example of these two great women who gave us a witness of holiness, prophetic strength,
and courage that we can only aspire to. And we, now, in this generation, at this time, knowing what we know, can truly, in the face of anything, with St. Mary, in confidence and in joy, accepting whatever burden and whatever challenge, testify and proclaim, my soul magnifies the Lord. And glory be to God forever.